Okay, check it out. Let's talk rhythm. This is for you new kids, okay? Bass guitar, upright bass, whatever, acoustic bass, these are rhythm instruments. You got to know some basic rhythm stuff. The most fundamental is understanding, like different note length rhythm sounds. What does a whole note sound like compared to a half note, compared to a quarter note, compared to a eighth note, compared to a 16th note? I'm going to keep this this video focused on just 4/4 for now, but I want to share with you like a counting method I learned a long time ago. It's really useful for hearing all these different note lengths that we use to play different rhythms. If somebody says, play a quarter note rhythm, what they mean is like the bass player is expected to play a pulse that is like quarter notes, and this is the easiest one because the drummer counts you in a 4/4 context. If he counts you in as 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We just got to hit a rhythm that lands on the beats he just called out. So that's the simplest one. That's a quarter note. That's a quarter note rhythm. Quarter note because you can fit 4 of those into one bar if you play them side by side. Hence the name quarter. What about like eighth notes though? If somebody says I want you to play an eighth note rhythm, how do you play that when somebody counts in this thing? And I'm going to show you how you do it. So check it out. The drummer counts you in. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so on and so on. That's an eighth note rhythm. So I've used this I've modified that that simple count in that the drummers use, and I've added an and syllable in between each of the number 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and it gives me this the syllables of speaking that hammer out an eighth note rhythm when you evenly space them. If somebody says I'm expecting a 16th note rhythm, we can use that same counting technique, but we'd modify it still a little further, and this is how we would do it. So the drummer's counting us in 1, 2, 3, 4. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... So that's what 16th notes sound like. So if you can remember that way of counting, you can hear what the duration of those kinds of notes, 16th versus an eighth versus a quarter versus a half note versus a whole note. I can touch on those in a second here. I think those are I think most people know those, but I'll cover them real quick. Whole notes are just a note that lasts for the duration of the whole bar, hence the name whole note. And you just basically, a whole note would sound like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It just lasts for 4 beats. Half notes would last for 2 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let me give you an exercise you can work on to get comfortable with this method of counting. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to go from whole notes to 16th notes. We're going to try to keep it all in the same tempo, and we're just going to subdivide. Okay, so I'm gonna play it through. You can use YouTube to slow this down if you need to, but listen to the counting, because it's that internal counting that's going to help you hear what the duration of those notes should be. So try this. We're going to go from whole notes, which are 4 beats, to half notes, which last 2 beats, to quarter notes, which last 1 beat in a bar, right? To eighth notes, which last half a beat, or an eighth of a bar, right? And then to 16ths, which last a 16th of a bar. And we're going to progressively go to that. So try this out. It doesn't really matter what note you pick, but it just get you comfortable with the counting exercise. So let's do this in G again here. So drummer's counting us in. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1. So try that. Just repeat that. And you can put a metronome on, start slow, but embed that counting method in your head. This is going to get you used to hearing those different kinds of rhythms, just with a simple counting method. I've been using this method for decades. When I need to hear, like, oh, what does that sound like? I kind of intuitively know what they sound like, but once upon a time, I had to kind of like rely on this to establish that sound. One thing I want to end with in this, and this is really important, okay? Everything I just shared with you is rhythm as it applies to like any instrument, and I'm focused primarily on like rhythms that are equally spaced to give you a method for how to hear those and how to count them out. I do want to say this. As a bass player, we have a job, and like the downbeat of the 1, and when I'm speaking about 4/4 here, on the downbeat of the 1, when we hit that 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. That 1. This is our domain. This is we're kind of traditionally expected to kind of like support that oomph in the 1. Before we get that snap of the drum, the snare. On the 2. And the 4, like we kind of occupy that region. We're kind of like a bass drum. So, excuse me. A lot of it's important when we think about playing the bass that we reserve that space in and around the 1. As a special place where it's like we insert our. Not just that rhythm sound, but we're also like expected to support the harmony of what's going on around us in the music. So we need to kind of be, with the drummer, sort of the master of that space in the bar. And I kind of look at it like, that we sort of like we land down on the one, and we spend the rest of the bar finding a way to like land on the one of the next bar. A lot of what bass lines do is that ebb and flow of dropping, slamming down, heavy on the one, and setting up interest for the next repetition of that. This is a big part of what we do, and that's specific to bass. It's important for us to understand that this is what our bandmates are really counting on us to like hold that down rhythmically and harmonically, and it's a great place to be. If you're interested in learning more about like that philosophy, and there's some good, if you do any internet searches or YouTube searches, look up any old videos that talk about James Brown and how he brought the one and how he introduced the one to people like Bootsy Collins, and it's not just funk music, and this is in rock and roll, this is in jazz music. It's in a lot of our Western music, so check that out. I hope you enjoyed, and if you like this, give me a thumbs up. If you have any comments or suggestions, I read all of them. And if you want more of this, subscribe. Stay cool.